DC fans just keep on winning and winning. Not only is Henry Cavill's Superman appearing in Black Adam, but it is now being reported by the biggest and most reliable source on the internet that Warner Bros. Discovery are actively working on a Man of Steel 2, and that Walter Hamada was the reason why we never got a Superman sequel. Hey everyone, welcome back to our movie news. October 2022 seems to be the month that DC fans will always remember as the revival of the DCEU. The Hollywood Reporter has released a huge article about the future of the DC universe, and it has a lot of exciting information inside. THR are the most reliable source on the internet, so any information we get from there has a 99.9% chance of being true. So let's break down this article. With the release of Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam this Friday and DC Films head Walter Hamada quietly ending his tenure in the coming days, DC is charting into truly unknown territory. Which is true, DC is heading into unknown territory, but that is good news. DC is changing for the better, and Walter Hamada is leaving the company at the end of this month, and a new DC head will be brought in, one that Warner Bros. Discovery approves. And The Hollywood Reporter can exclusively report that James Gunn, the filmmaker behind Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy movies, as well as Warner's DC-based The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, is angling for his own new DC project, or two. While it isn't clear what hero or teams Gunn is targeting, and the writer-director would focus on a second season of Peacemaker first, the studio's eyes are very much on Superman. Now, I've said before that I personally didn't like Peacemaker Season 1, but clearly enough people watched it and enjoyed it to create a Season 2. So this is great news for those fans who love Peacemaker, and I'm really happy for them. But let's focus on the final line of that sentence. The studio's eyes are very much on Superman. How long has that sentence been missing from a report about Warner Bros.? The studio is focused on Superman. What a refreshing statement to hear. The article goes on saying, under Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav and Warner Bros. Pictures heads Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, Warner Bros. Has an intense desire to reprise the Cavill iteration of the hero. The project that would essentially be Man of Steel 2 and is being produced by Charles Roven is currently in a search for a writer. There is a wish list, of course, and Christopher McQuarrie, the hand that guides the Mission Impossible movies, was on it. McQuarrie worked with Cavill on the 2018 installment Fallout, but sources say no official outreach has been made, nor may it be feasible, as the director is working on the next back-to-back Impossible installments. Wow, so much good news in one paragraph. Let's break it down a bit more. So, Discovery have an intense desire to bring Henry Cavill back for a Man of Steel 2, and are currently looking for writers, and is being produced by Charles Roven. If you don't know who Charles Roven is, he produced Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 1 and 2, Justice League 2017, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Suicide Squad, and the upcoming Wonder Woman 3. Now, as far as I am aware, he had nothing to do with the butchering of Suicide Squad or Justice League, but he has helped produce some of the best DC films, and unfortunately, one of the worst. But clearly Discovery still think he is good enough to work at DC, so I do too. Also, notice the absence of Walter Hamada from that decision of a Man of Steel 2. They completely ignored him for that decision, and that is because he is leaving and there is no chance of him returning. So, if you're worried that going to see Black Adam could keep Hamada at the company, that won't happen. He will never come back. The second half of that paragraph talks about a writer for the Superman sequel, focusing on Discovery's desire of Christopher McQuarrie. Now, he did go to Warner Bros. In 2018 with Henry Cavill to pitch a Superman film, but was rejected and said he wouldn't go back to them because he wants to go where he is wanted. Two things to take from that. The first is that Discovery and Henry Cavill will probably have to persuade him that the company is completely different to back then, and I think Cavill will be integral to winning McQuarrie over. The second is that he already has an idea for a Superman sequel. The story he pitched to them in 2018 I'm sure still exists and is clearly something Henry Cavill likes too. So that could cut down the time working on a new story for the Man of Steel, as they already have one created. Now, I really like what McQuarrie has done with the Mission Impossible films, with Fallout being my favourite of them all, so I would very much be open to him writing a Superman sequel. But that asks the question, who would be the director? Now, the obvious answer would be McQuarrie, but if he was only to be a writer on this film, my top two choices would be Zack Snyder or Christopher Nolan. I love what Zack Snyder did with Superman and modernising him, and I think Christopher Nolan did a great job with the Dark Knight trilogy. So he would be my second vote. However, Nolan did say that he thinks he couldn't do a Superman film, and so recommended Snyder to the studio to make Man of Steel. So he may push that offer again over to Snyder. But make sure to let me know who you think should direct a Superman sequel in the comments below. Superman as well as Cavill were not in the initial plans for Black Adam. The idea was hatched during a round of reshoots for the movie earlier this year, but the cameo was nixed by Hamada, the executive who for the last 4 years had tried hard to move DC beyond the era where one filmmaker, in this case Zack Snyder, had an inordinate amount of influence and could command an entire slate for years. Hamada had his own plans, one of them involving introducing a black Superman. After Hamada said no, Dwayne Johnson went around the executive, turning to DeLuca and Abdi, who gave it the thumbs up. A furious round of negotiating occurred before Labor Day, a deadline insisted by Warner's, with the scene shot in mid-September. So, like we've said for a long time now, Walter Hamada has not been good enough at his job. He's been so focused on removing Zack Snyder from the universe that he was going to erase Henry Cavill's Superman, and he didn't care about the fans. This also shows how passionate The Rock is about DC. He went to Walter Hamada, he then got rejected, and then he went over his head to his new bosses and got Cavill in Black Adam. Not only does that show the care Dwayne Johnson has for the DCEU, but it also shows the lack of care Walter Hamada has for the DCEU. I said this on Twitter, but I will say it here too. For those saying that Black Adam is a Hamada product, and if you watch it, then you support him and increase the chances of him staying, that is so untrue. They only kept him around because his contract was running out in October, and firing him before then would have cost the company more money. It was easier to run his contract down than sacking him right away. They've been looking for a new DC president since Discovery have been in charge. There was no way he was going to stay, and supporting Black Adam doesn't support Walter Hamada. I see Black Adam as a product of the new regime now, because they will be in charge of the future. So far, they've removed every person who stopped DC from being as good as they can be. Cavill coming back is because of Warner Bros. Discovery. Ann Sarnoff, Toby Emmerich, and now Walter Hamada are gone, and DC is safe. I don't see me going to watch Black Adam as supporting any of them. I see it as supporting the cast and crew of that film, and The Rock, who cares so much about DC to the point he went around the DC president to bring Cavill back. That's who I'm supporting. I'm supporting Warner Bros. Discovery and DC. Like I've said before, you can choose what you see. If you see John Williams' Superman theme as Discovery supporting Justice League, then that's on you, because you are choosing to see that. If Warner Bros. Discovery supported Justice League and Walter Hamada so much, then why is Hamada being removed from the company? Why did Dwayne Johnson ignore Hamada and went to his bosses instead? If you still really believe that Discovery like Hamada and want to continue with his vision, then why on earth are they letting him go? If they support and like his vision, surely they would just keep him around. It would be so much easier and cheaper for them to keep the same DC president than have to go and look for a new one. Clearly, they do not think he was good enough at his job, and clearly they do not like the direction he was taking DC in. As soon as Discovery were put in charge, he wasn't in charge of making the decisions at DC anymore. As the article says, DeLuca has been making the decisions at DC. He greenlit Joker 2 and has been making decisions on Aquaman 2 and The Flash. So the reshoots or additional photography both films have gone under or are actively going under have been because of DeLuca and not Walter Hamada. In fact, DeLuca could become the permanent DC president if his changes to the new DC films impress David Zaslav and the fans. We also have good news for us Batman fans with the confirmation that Matt Reeves is developing a sequel to his The Batman, and a series spin-off focusing on Colin Farrell's Penguin is on its way to filming next year. Reeves is meeting with writers and directors to build out movies focused on Batman Rogues Gallery, both established and more obscure characters such as the Scarecrow or Clayface. So a really exciting future is ahead for the Batman universe. The future of J.J. Abrams' Superman film set outside the DCEU is unknown, but I assume with Henry Cavill returning for his own solo film, that project will probably be scrapped. We do have a confirmation that Hamada didn't even attend the Black Adam premiere, which just goes to show that not only is he leaving the company very soon, but he also doesn't feel that Black Adam is his product anymore. He's not even been offered a producing deal with the studio, which happens with a lot of executives who are let go, but in a respectful way. Discovery clearly just want to get rid of him as quick as they can and do not think he is good enough to have any sort of other job at the studio. The final confirmation from the article is that The Flash 2 has already been written, which just goes to show how far ahead they have planned out, and I'm sure it won't be with Ezra Miller, who has been in a lot of drama recently, but we will wait for an official verdict before talking about that whole situation. The final thing I want to say is that the article confirms that Henry Cavill appearing in Black Adam was only decided in September of this year, and was only possible when Discovery took charge. So, to any scoopers who claimed that Henry Cavill's Superman was going to be in Black Adam before that time were lying and just throwing out lucky guesses, and fortunately for them, this one panned out. But like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a great day for DC fans and it has been a great month too. So, which piece of information are you most excited about? Let me know in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!